Hello, everyone. I'm Kavita here, and I'm extremely delighted to welcome each and every one of you to this very interesting webinar on how to be a successful entrepreneur. I would like to take this opportunity to invite Dr. V. Ganesan, who's the Deputy Director Placement and Training of Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute. And, as the vision of the institute, as they mention, is our institutes are about job creators and job seekers. So this very well resonates with the theme of our webinar. And it's a privilege to have our guest speaker for the evening, Mr. Sanjay Sehgal, Chairman and CEO MSys Group, and is also one of the nation's most inspirational and heartful businessmen to start this wonderful session. Here's your chance to learn from a self-made successful entrepreneur himself. We welcome you, sir. Over to you, Dr. Ganeshan.
Yes. Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Ganesan, Deputy Director, Placement and Training. On behalf of Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, University, I welcome Mr. Sanjay Sehgal. Before introducing him, I wish to thank our Honorable Chairman, Dr. A.C. Shanmugam, and our Honorable President, Engineer ACS Arun Kumar, and our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Geeta Lakshmi, and our Provost, Dr. C.G. Gopalakrishnan, and our beloved Registrar, Dr. C.B. Payanibelu. I also welcome our team members, Dr. K. Ilakkuvan, Director, Placement and Training, Dr. Radha Ramakrishnan, Liaison Officer and Placement, Mrs. Mahalakshmi, Placement Officer, and Ms. Priyanka, Placement Trainer and Coordinator. I am extremely delighted to welcome each and every one of you to this very interesting webinar, Be a Job Creator. The webinar is presented by MSys Group of Companies, and our guest speaker for the evening is Mr. Sanjay Sehgal, Chairman and CEO, MSys Group. Sanjay Sehgal is one of the nation's most inspirational and heartful businessmen, a reliable partner for product engineering services and digital transformation projects for the independent software vendor. MSys Group of North America is a leading professional certification training company and has strengthened its digital arm by acquiring Mobineous, India's AI, IoT, and ML solution providers and mobile app developer company. Sanjay is a compulsive entrepreneur, global businessman, startup advisor, philanthropist, mindful and heartful human, and has been an internationally recognized as a key speaker. He has been recognized as the most innovative digital transformation CEO of the year 2019. Top Entrepreneurs Award was given to him in the year 2018 by TIE Atlanta. He has been featured and interviewed by Forbes, Dark Reading, IDG, Network World, PC World, TechCrunch, and Atlanta Business Chronicle. A truly inspiring person and one of the best motivational speakers with the most encouraging experimental stories for overcoming obstacles and for dealing with life challenges. Thousands of youth from worldwide joined the talk and got together to interact virtually. So he is here to inspire us all today. Inspire us all today. Welcome, Sanjay sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ganeshan sir, for such a wonderful bio and welcoming me. I'm delighted to be here talking to youth and all those people who work with youth. Itself is very inspiring to me personally, and especially talking about the subject which is very close to my own heart, the entrepreneurship, or how to be a successful. Of course, my definition of success may be completely different from what people may be thinking about or people may be expecting. But nevertheless, yes, if we are doing something, better be successful at it. So how to be a successful entrepreneur is today's topic. So, so should we get started, Kavita? Okay.
Yeah,
So I'll just, I have a short presentation as well. So in between, I will switch between presentation and my talk. Or Shantanu, are we going to do the Menti questions first?
We can do the Menti questions.
Okay. Why don't we just start with that? So what we're going to do is, all of you who have joined, just to warm you up a little bit, we have some online questionnaire. You just need your mobile phone in case you have not used this before. You just go to menti.com on a browser, and I will encourage even the people who are joined on the Zoom as well. Just go to your browser, menti.com, and use the code 351528. 351528. Go to menti.com. I'll urge all of you on Zoom and YouTube or wherever you're joining this from, just do that, menti.com, code 351528, and it will give you some questions and you will see the answers here. It's just some I mean, there's nothing right or wrong here, by the way. Just remember this. This is just for fun, just to see how responsive you all are. Do you really mean what an entrepreneur is, And okay, so I think you can see
code 35?
351528. 351528. That is the code. And
I
you see
have to get back on that.
Menti.com, menti.com. Use the code 351528. And you see, I mean, majority of the people are liking Ratan Tata. I think if he's watching or if he ever gets to hear, he's a very popular entrepreneur in India. I guess Mukesh Ambani is the next one. And then we have competition between Vijay Mallya and Anil Ambani. Yes, I mean, they were entrepreneurs in their own ways. Yes, of course. As I said, there's nothing right or wrong. And we don't know what you have answered. So answer freely. It's a fun game. Right? So we are getting a lot of answers, as you see. So more than 100 people, close to 100 people have responded so far. So let's go to the next one, Shantanu. Is it important to start a company or business to be an entrepreneur? Majority of the people are saying yes, but there's a competition, yes or no, or maybe. Yes, that's good. That's good. Very good. Very good. Again, people are still responding. Same code is the same. Menti.com. Code is 351528. Yes, no, maybe. Is it important to start a company or business to be an entrepreneur? So good. So we can nothing, just stop this, Chandru. So this is a topic, how to be an entrepreneur. But what you successful entrepreneur? As you saw in the questionnaire, most of the people relate being entrepreneur with starting a business. In fact, not only starting a business, the image of entrepreneurs we have, like of Ratan Tata or Mukesh Ambani, or in case of technology guys, Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs and all those other guys, right? We think of people with big mansions, with huge billion-dollar companies, with, multi-billion-dollar bank account. I mean, we think of just big, rich people, rich and famous people as entrepreneurs. Now, how true that is, that's what we're going to talk about. The word entrepreneur comes from a French word, entreprendre. I may not be saying it the way French would say it. I'm not French, but the root is from France, entreprendre, which means to venture or to set out, to undertake or to set out a new mission or venture. I'll repeat, entreprendre, and it means to undertake or set out a new mission or venture. Now you see in this definition, it does not say anything about setting up a billion-dollar company, right? Or having a big yacht or big mansion or a big car or something like that. So entrepreneurship really means your ability to see a problem and solve it using new means, a problem that has not been solved before. So the whole idea, the old idea of entrepreneurship means starting a company, making $1 billion. So otherwise you're not an entrepreneur. That's not correct. Now, the definition that I like the most of entrepreneurship, I'm going to just share that with you all. Being an entrepreneur simply means being someone who want to make a difference to other people's lives. That is the best definition that I have. I didn't coin it, I must admit. I read it somewhere and I really like this definition. Someone who want to make a difference to other people's lives. You know, if I tell you the stories of some of the famous entrepreneurs and how they all started, I'm sure you all have heard of IKEA by now, right? In Hyderabad, these days when I go to India, I visit Hyderabad quite often and we have a new IKEA store. You know how the IKEA founder thought about starting IKEA? He went to a furniture store and he bought a table. And in most of the Western countries, we don't have somebody else who will bring those things for you. You have to bring it in your car. I live in US, by the way. One of the things, I just added that in my name there also. So in Western countries, he was from, I guess, Norway or someplace in Europe. So he bought a table. He had to bring the table back to home in his car and he couldn't fit that. And he really tried hard, he couldn't. So he thought it will be so nice if somebody designs a table where legs can be separated. From there came this idea of build your own furniture giant called IKEA. How many of you use WhatsApp? I'm sure 100% of you use WhatsApp. You know, WhatsApp is now owned by Facebook, but prior to that, it was a startup. It was started in US by some people who came here from Ukraine. Like many of us in US came from India. So he used to find very hard to talk to his father, his dad, over the phone. In fact, when I remember, I have been here in US for about 30 years. In the beginning, when I came, I used to call home my parents for 3 minutes. And it used to cost me $10. I used to, have my budget, how many calls I'm going to make, one call to my sister, one call to my parents, one call to my friend in a week, because that is $30, $40. And whether you call or receive, it's the same amount. So he had the same problem. He felt that it is so hard for him to talk to his dad, who was not well in Ukraine. So he thought about this idea of WhatsApp, having internet calling service. And now it is perhaps one of the most popular apps in the entire world. I can go on like that. Even Steve Jobs, many of you may have heard how the idea of iPod came. And he saw his daughter was carrying those Sony Walkman, where you used to put the cassette, right? He was carrying in a back pocket with a headphone. And he said, this is so cumbersome way of carrying this music. We should have a simple device which can have thousands of songs. From there came iPod, and from iPod grew to iPhone. So what I'm saying is that all these people, of course, I'm taking the example of only very big billionaire examples, but that means whether it is that or somebody very simple. It's always entrepreneur simply means being someone who wants to make a difference to other people's lives. He sees a problem, grabs that opportunity, solves that, and from there comes a company. Now, often people think that, and entrepreneurs are born, not taught. This is a common myth people have. That, either you have it in you or you don't have it in you. You're born, not taught. I mean, I'm sure we have heard this number of times. If I tell you my own story, I was born and brought up in a lower middle class family in New Delhi. My father was a clerk with the government. And everybody in my family used to just be in government job. That used to be the dream job for everybody in the family. Government job, Delhi means government job. And if you have that, or if you are a little more educated, you'll be a teacher. One of my uncle was a teacher. So that kind of used to be the thing. And of course, I did my engineering and I also did a job. I had never thought ever about starting a company or being an entrepreneur. Till I came to US and then a lot of things happened. And to me, the entrepreneurs are neither born nor taught. You cannot have a subject called entrepreneurship and expect everybody to start companies. The important thing here to understand is they are released from within. They're released from within, released from their own fears, because what makes people not do things that they want to do is the fear of failure. Now you can inspire them, I won't call it in some way as it is teaching, but to me more than teaching, it is inspiration. You can inspire them to go past that fear of failure, do what they want to do, what they really intend to do. That will change the lives not only of their own selves, but also of the people around them. So remember some of these things, but I'll come back to some of this again. Now, what are the qualities to be an entrepreneur? I mean, some of these things will be, you may have heard about it, but I'll just give you some more examples so that you can relate to it. Hard work, risk-taking, being flexible, and being result-oriented. Now, when you're studying in college, just doing your basic coursework and maybe some papers that you have to write, you think that's, I should just get enough marks to pass out and then get a job. It's okay at this age, but I tell you, these days, I started my first company when I was 35 years old, but these days, people are starting out when they're in high school, 12th grade. Because the world has become so flat now. I mean, India, China, US, in US, we make fun of these things. We say that you only need beer and pizza. And I'm sorry, I'm making fun of some of these things, but it is, there are college students. The best company these days are coming out of college, done by college, because they are I would say the biggest user of technology or new ideas. That's a time that you can really focus on what problems are around you are looking or have not been solved and looking for a solution. You can come up with a solution, but you have very minimal needs of money at that time. Some of the best companies that I have financed, now I'm an angel investor as well. The best companies that I have invested in are the companies which have come out of college students, technology developed during college, because you just give them beer and pizza. That's the joke I was talking about. Very minimal cost, and they can churn out a wonderful product, provided they have ability to work hard. So number one quality, I'll tell you, when I look for an entrepreneur, is he just talk? Or does he have something in him to work hard? Does he have that discipline? That's number one thing I look for in any entrepreneur that I work with, I invest in, because those are the values, core values that one needs to have. Then, of course, does he have ability to take some calculated risks? and act quickly. See, most of the business ideas, by the time they come out and become a big product or big service or big site, they are not the same as the one that you started with. In fact, one of the motivational speaker in startup world even says that if your final idea is not completely different from your original idea, it means it's not a good idea. You get in with some idea, but be flexible to make changes. I mean, I was giving the example of IKEA or WhatsApp. Those are the original things they thought about, just building a furniture which can be rebuilt by people, do it yourself type furniture. But now see, it's a retail company, which does not even build furniture. Furniture comes from China or some other place. WhatsApp is no longer a only call service. It's most of us use for sending messages and a lot of other things, right? So your final idea could be completely different from the new idea or the original idea. They say dream for the sky, then at least a handful will be yours. A handful of stars will be yours. If you start with a very small idea, very small thing, I mean, you may not go anywhere. Start with a big enough idea that is looking for a solution, and then keep making changes as you move along. Be flexible but persistent. Continuously learn and adapt as new information becomes available. See, one of the companies I did, I thought we were in hardware design. So we thought we'll start with the hardware design. But by the time we had completed the 1 year of our operation, we realized that not many people will buy the hardware. We immediately switched to being a software company. We became a successful one at that. This was several years ago. But that's, you have to be, other thing of being flexible in any kind of venture, new venture, anything that you do new, whether it's a shop, whether it is a small operation of a company or a large company funded by some investors and all, you have to be flexible to wear multiple hats. I know some of the larger deals I closed when I was having lunch at a restaurant with someone else. I got a call. I had to take a call in a restaurant. And in the 15-minute call, I closed the largest deal. Now, if suppose had I taken the approach, I cannot really talk to you. I'm having lunch. I'll call you later. No, you have to be flexible. In some of my startups, I was the IT guy, I was the peon, I was the coffee guy, and I was also the CEO. We were a very lean and mean machine. When we ended up doing everything that was needed to be done. But stay at it. And in fact, this is true not just for being an entrepreneur, but anything that you do in life. Persistence to me is the biggest quality one could have. And you can try it, you can learn it. That's something you can remind yourself on a daily basis what you need to do. And be result oriented. At the end of the day, when you are doing anything that has to solve a problem for you or for the world around you, you can't just have thought. You can't just have a strategy. You can't just have a plan. You need to execute the plan. You can spend all your life perfecting the plan. And why I'm saying that is I see a lot of pitches where pitch means here, a bunch of guys will come to me and say, okay, we have this startup idea, and they make a pitch and they'll go back after 6 months, they'll give me another pitch. I say, but you guys haven't started. They say, well, we're still trying to perfect the plan. To me, there is nothing called a perfect plan. There is a saying that unless you start moving your car, how can you steer? You can't have a stationary car and start moving the steering wheel and think that it's going to change the direction. No. You first start the car, get it moving, and then you steer it. Very important thing. You can be flexible, you can be persistent, all those things. But if you're not result oriented, you will not go a whole mile there. And other myth that I want to break here is that entrepreneurship is more about the attitude, not the aptitude. People, many times, oh, this guy is very bright. Only people from MIT and Harvard can start companies, or IIT Bombay grads have started a lot of companies I know in India, and so have a lot of IIM people. No, that is not true. It's more about your attitude, not where you have studied. If you, the history of so many successful entrepreneurs, they didn't even complete their degrees. And I'm not encouraging you not to complete your degree. Ganeshans sir will say, why, people. That's not, the point. The point is here that it is more about the attitude, entrepreneurial attitude. Yeah, Ashraf, can you mute people? Your host. So you can, it is more about your attitude than your aptitude. You can be an entrepreneurial, as I said earlier, without having to start a company. You can be a mailman, a guy working in the mailroom, or a chaiwala, and you can be entrepreneurial. You can think about new ideas. Now, I am saying that because in our own country, India, not too long ago, our Prime Minister was a chaiwala. And I'm saying it with pride, because he must have done something right. There's so many people who have come from nowhere, but just because they were hardworking, they had the good attitude, they were flexible, they were result-oriented, they went forward. They reached the heights that many of us just can talk about, only can talk about. There have been many stories like that. I mean, Paytm product, I mean, you may, all of you may have used it. That was in India. That was started by a person like that. He was actually from my college, so my junior, several years junior to me. And I mean, his story I was reading, it's an amazing story. It came from really nowhere and built one of the most successful companies in India. And so success is not just a function of, that your dad has money, so you will have money. Not everybody is Ambani or Tata. Now, of course, all the examples that I used there were people who had family money. But in today's generation, think about this, that you need to solve some problem to change people's lives. Only then you will become an entrepreneur. First, it will be your life, and then it will be other people's life. Now, often people ask me when, especially when they're starting a company, they say, okay, you said, what problem are you solving? So I am solving a problem. I have a pitch deck, and here is a company idea. I just want to give you that. I thought these are just simple 4 steps. I always ask an entrepreneur who's set out to begin a venture, new venture. Again, as I said, it's not necessarily a company. Anything new you want to do. These are 4 things you should look at. What problem are you solving? Even if suppose you are a CA, you're starting a chartered accountancy practice, or you are starting a small shop selling idli vada. Now you need to see, if you're starting in a neighborhood where there are already 5 shops, why will people come to you? What problem are you solving? You say, well, problem I'm solving is I'm going to home deliver it. Let's say as an example. Or my vadas are going to be so small or going to be so healthy that people, this will be healthy food. These days, there is a big fad of healthy food. So you need to define What problem are you solving? And is it large enough problem? Especially if you are set out to build a bigger business, your problem has to be large enough. Even in the example of idli and vada, it's not enough that you are going to just home deliver. But I mean, are there people these days? Nobody wants home delivery. People just say leave it outside. I mean, I'm taking some examples like that. So whatever problem it is, see, is it large enough problem that is looking for solution? How are you solving it? You can solve a lot of problems, but there may be very complex ways to solve a problem, and it may require a lot of money to solve the problem. So if that is the case, then it is not good enough. Because if, WhatsApp, taking that as an example, it's not that people are not able to call Ukraine. People were already calling Ukraine, but it was a very complex way. It was going through many routers, switches, this, that, to reach call to reach there. And of course, in the process, it was costing a lot of money. And then why now? There's always a right time to solve a problem. Think about this. Why would people buy your services now? For example, during these times of Corona, it's a perfect time to solve certain problems. Home delivery of food, home delivery of prescription pills, home delivery of anything is a perfect example. Why now? And why you? That is another important thing. Why you? Because if somebody else can do it, what unique qualification do you have to solve this problem? Because if everybody can do it, everybody will do it. If you think everybody can start what you are doing, everybody can start making dosa or vada, you start a shop, next day and another shop will be there. So your shop will go down in business. So think about this. Of course, the shop is just a small example. I really am a technology entrepreneur. Most of these things apply perfect to any technology problem you're trying to solve. Is it large enough? How are you solving it? Why now? Why you? These 4 answers, if you can have, you can go to any investor, you can talk to anybody, you can start, you can talk to mentors like me. I'll be happy to help you think through this and begin your work. So this is, as I said, this is a perfect time to start a new venture. Whenever economy is down, whenever there is a problem in the world, or big problem in the world, it means that leads to a lot of small problems. All those would need to get solved. Perfect time for students to think about those, find solutions, and begin new ventures. So I will urge all of you to think about it. This is the perfect time. Don't just wait for jobs. Think about these ideas. And there are many people like me around who will be willing to help you. And this is just for fun. I said, most important is to be different, but don't be stupid. This image was, a long time ago. I took it when the first hands-free, somebody came up with this idea. Of course, it was a stupid idea, but you don't have to be stupid. Just because there is a problem, it was before hands-free devices were there. Somebody said, okay, tie a rubber band, put a phone next to your ear. It's a stupid idea to me. Don't be stupid, because nobody's going to pay you money for this idea. So that was, I think, what I wanted to share with you all in today's session. And Shantanu, are we going to do more Menti questions at this time?
Yes, sir.
And then we will do some questions and answers. So you will see, if you can go back to your browser, you can. And now the code is still the same. 3515. This is the same question, Shantanu, I think. Okay, same code. What do you think is the most important skill that an entrepreneur needs? technical skills, sales and marketing skills, management skills, all of them. Yes, of course. But even if you have one, you can have other team members who complement you. Bring the other. These days, many startups are founded by a group of people. And I always suggest that's the right way to do things. Have one or two other co-founders. You may not have all the technical skills, and technical guy may not have the sales and marketing skills. Join hands and do it together. It's there in that kind of skill matching. 1 + 1 will become 11 actually. So that is the right way to do things. Go to the next one. What do you think is the key to success? Good. I think a lot of people have given luck is very few people have chosen luck. So, yeah, there is luck always, by the way. Let's say you are setting out to solve a problem which is relevant only during Corona times. And when Corona thing is over, let's say vaccine comes out by end of the year and your product is not ready, and times have moved on and people are not looking for a product like that anymore. I mean, it does happen. It has happened to me too. Luck is some part of it, but I think even if that is the case, even if times have moved on, you will pivot, you will change your product to suit the current times. And that's where I meant flexible. One of the companies I started was before 9/11 in US. And then once 9/11 happened, people stopped buying new products. So we just switched to do something else. And of course, then, we created a much better product after that. Go to the next one. Should your passion become your work? Strongly agree, disagree, strong. Well, if you can make your passion your work or your work your passion, both actually. You can make somebody said, once that instead of looking for job satisfaction, do your job satisfactorily. Then it is as good. So either way, whether your passion becomes your work or your work becomes your passion, you will be very successful. Good. Next. Should failures demotivate you? Not at all, not that much, a little bit. Good. I'm glad to see people are being honest here. And we're going to talk more about it in Q&A, about failure and all. So, but I think this is a good. Okay, next.
That's it, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Sanjay sir, for a very inspiring session. And it's. I mean, we all hear stories about how has one developed or defined themselves. But there's always a hard story behind a successful entrepreneur, as you really mentioned. But it's also inspiring to understand, that people do come from the same backgrounds that we all follow. I mean, the very first thing that you mentioned about, that when you look at big bungalows, big cars, you start feeling that the person is very successful. But as you mentioned about your bio also, I mean, today we obviously all have come to know that we are probably everybody's on the same level. It's just our perception and the passion that we need to follow. So if you can correct me here.
No, I think you're perfectly right. I think no job is small, no company is small. If just, as I said, it's an attitude. If you have an attitude to solve a problem, just do it. I think there was a time, I would say 20, 30 years ago, what we are talking about may not have been true. But now it is not like that. I think anybody can do really anything. I mean, you can't have a network of IKEA stores all over the country. That's, of course, for that you need a lot of other things. But you can, with technology especially, and and not just technology, with many things actually, there is no barrier anymore. I mean, you need to have, as I said, think about a solution to a problem and march forward.
Thanks a lot for this. And I'm sure, with this one statement that you just mentioned, I think somewhere down the line, all of us are going to relate this somewhere in life, be it a daily work in office, or since we are all at the work from home mode now on, juggling, multitasking and doing everything. I'm sure everybody's going to relate to something. So before we proceed ahead with the questions, just wanted to quickly know your thoughts actually, on the current situation that we are in the middle of this ongoing pandemic. And, there are a lot of reports that coming in saying that, there's still a long way to go ahead, or probably, the worst is just begin or something of that sort. If you remember, there is a theory by Charles Darwin who has mentioned, it's the battle of survival of the fittest. Those who survive the battle and those who are fit enough, they are definitely going to proceed ahead. So, since we all know, I mean, you are also, managing everything so well, what would be your suggestion for the other CEOs, or probably for all the students who are watching it right now? What is your one point takeaway from the entire thing, the situation that we are in right now? Anything to motivate our students or to people?
I very strongly feel that these things happen to teach us something. When nature brings, I may be sounding philosophical here, but when nature brings such a thing, like yesterday, one of my mentors was telling that, see, in 6 months, one small virus that you can't even see has destroyed 12 million or has infected 12 million people in the world. I mean, in US alone, we have more than 3 million people infected, right? And so many hundreds of thousands, lakhs of people have died. A small virus in 6 months. Whereas positive things takes generations to propagate like that, right?
Yes.
They don't go viral so easily, positive things. So I think this thing has happened to teach us something. And it could be different for each one of us. Let's say for somebody, it could be that I pay attention to my studies, right? Because in these times, jobs are going to be hard to come by. Let's say as an example. Or this is a time for me to find a solution to a problem that I see, I always think about. I mean, yesterday, a friend of mine sent me a video of a very nice, smart sensor dispenser for this hand sanitizer, right? He had even designed it at home with his son, him and his son. While doing his job, he designed it. Right?
Okay.
To me, these are the things people can do sitting at home. Meditate. I mean, you all know that I am a very strong proponent of meditation. One thing I didn't mention there, I wanted to keep it for question and answer. The real secret ingredients in being a good entrepreneur is what I refer to as professional calm. Right? If one has that, because fear of failure, I mentioned that, entrepreneurs are neither born, not taught, they are released from within. How are they released? Is through professional calm. How do you get that calmness? Through meditation. Or meditation is one of the ways. It's not that everybody who's an entrepreneur is meditator, but they have some way of achieving that. Some way of setting their mind out to that problem and not be afraid of failure. How do you do that? Through this. So to me, these times have come to teach us a lesson. Sooner we learn, better it is for us.
On that note, I completely agree with you. I think all of us are going to resonate with you. So if you can start the session, we have the very first question coming in, probably based on what you just shared with us right now. What do you think are the secrets behind getting to where you have got to?
I think secret is really, I mean, I think the way I would describe that is that don't hold yourself back because of fear of failure, right? And it's easier said than done. I mean, in the beginning, I was also afraid. It took me I worked in a company for about 10, 11 years because there was nothing in my family or some example for me to follow. Typically we get inspired by watching somebody. So I am now at this stage, I am strong proponent of this, that, inspire others by doing what inspires you. Again, remember this, inspire others by doing what inspires you. And don't wait for somebody else, a role model in your life or something. And you should just, if something inspires you, set out to do that and rest will follow. You may have failure along the way. It's okay. though it's easier said than done, but every failure is a stepping stone to success, goes the old saying. So there are so many such things, so many examples. I think if you stay at it, you will succeed eventually. So my secret was really that, though as I said, in my family, nobody had done this, but when an opportunity came to me, I grabbed it. And that day and today, I don't think I would ever go back to any job.
So apt, so apt. Another question on the same lines. I think you've just answered them, but again, if you just want to concise it up, what were your greatest failures and what did they teach you?
What are the greatest?
What were your greatest failures and what did they teach you?
I think people, the interpersonal skills are always, I would say, especially, like we were talking about earlier about, the skills needed for being an entrepreneur. And I encourage everybody to find co-founders and all that and other people that you work with who have complementary skills. And I think besides complementary skills, bigger than skill is the matching of your attitudes, and the soft skills, as people say, that are you good as a team. And I didn't have anybody to teach me these things. And initially you just, you set out to do with people and later on you find you're not compatible. And then, of course, so I did learn some of those lessons along the way, and I think then eventually there was a company where I had people who were really like-minded and we could create good success together. And that's very important to me. Besides skills is the compatibility between the people that you are doing these things with.
Well said, sir. Well said. Yeah. Moving on to the next question. We have this. What was the most important part of your whole business journey?
Most important part of my whole business journey, I mean, there have been many. But I think I would say starting was the most important part. Like I said, once you start driving the car, you can steer it, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll tell you, having worked, I was VP of sales and marketing for a company. So I was a very successful executive by the time in 10 years, I think, of my journey of working for a company. I started working as an engineer, but I was quite hardworking and sincere and, in things that I did. So from engineer, I became engineering manager, director of engineering, then I moved to sales and marketing. There I started again, director of sales and marketing and director of product marketing and then sales and like that. Then I became VP of sales and marketing in 10 years. And we created a product, which reached $200 million in revenue. Mm-hmm. And having reached that success, we sold that company for a good amount. But I was not going to go back and do it for somebody else after that. That was kind of my journey. And so the beginning was, I used to think, now I have to start doing things myself. It means I don't have an office to go to, right? So it means I'll be sitting at home. So I had a danger, what if I start just spend my time watching TV all the time, or I do this all the time, or I do that all the time? What if I forget? What if, I was good at certain things. What if I forget doing those things? So there were all those fears were there, but going past those fears, once I went past that and started with another person, co-founder of mine, and I think that was the best thing, or best part of my journey. I really felt that I got freed. That's why I said really from within. If I close my eyes and think back of that time, that was the best time of my life.
That's actually inspiring to know. Great. What was the most important part of your whole business journey? I think all these questions are like, becoming a bio. Yeah. On the same lines. Yeah. What is the most
audience
important?
Has any question? Let's see if there, let's take some questions from audience, if there are any on YouTube or Zoom or anything.
Yeah, I think so. We have a question from Mr. Ankit Gupta. He is asking a very interesting question. If one has an idea, then what preparation is required before becoming an angel investor? Also, how should we find and contact an angel investor? I think a right question for you to answer.
Finding an angel investor. I think,
Yeah.
as I said, 4 things in the slide, right? See, you have an idea. Is idea solving a problem? Is the problem large enough? Does it impact enough number of people or a large group of people? If there's a problem only impacting a small group of people, then your market is very small. So is the idea or problem that you're solving large enough? That is, number one. Is the solution that you are using to solve that problem, is it simple enough? People are looking for simpler solutions, right? Complex in the back end, design or technology, that should be, complex. But for user, it should be a simple. Like click of a button, he can do it. Click a few buttons, he can do things, right? These days. And the third is, why now? There may be a problem, but the problem may be there when you go to a cricket match ground, let's say. Now nobody is going to cricket grounds, as an example. Suppose you do a chair which will help you sit comfortably in a cricket stadium. But for next 1 year, I don't know how many people will go to cricket stadium. So why now? That comes the why now. Then why you? Do you have the right skills to solve the problem, or somebody else is better suited for that, right? So if you can figure out that, then answer to these questions, you can, reach out to angel investors. And how, there are many organizations in every city. TIE, if you're familiar with TIE, is one of those organizations. But feel free to contact someone like me. I'll be happy to put you in touch with such angel investors in various cities. Even though I live in Atlanta, I am in touch with many people in Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, those places. I'll be happy to.
Great. Thank you for this. We have another question by Ms. Preeta. She's asking, how should we motivate students to overcome the fear of failures whenever they start to think about venturing new innovations?
See, in between I mentioned something. Inspire others by doing what inspires you.
Yeah.
Right? And if you are really vested in helping them overcome, work with them. I have never been in teaching profession myself, but I was once an advisor to Georgia Tech Venture Forum. Georgia Tech is a university here in Atlanta and one of the very popular, famous university. And there I saw how professors were working with students to help them think through the idea to completion and even go to an angel investor, right? And I was part of that process, of course, meaning once the idea is there, so they'll come to me and I'll tell them the idea does not have this, doesn't have this, they'll go back. The professor will work very closely with them. I think that does create a sense of comfort in students, that somebody, wiser is helping them come up with that solution. So I think that is one thing you can do perhaps, is that work along, even if you may not know that technology or that particular thing enough. I think just having a senior hand around them would help them initially.
Sure. Thank you. So another question, I think you've answered for this, but again, there's a question from Mr. Siddesh Pawar. What are some of the mistakes you wished that you could have avoided? This is an interesting one. Yeah.
Oh, well, there are there are many, but I think the topmost, as I had mentioned earlier, finding the co-founders who not only have complementary skills but also compatible. Right? Very, very important skill. And then mistake that I made in some of the ventures, and that kind of hurt me. And other, I would say, is really around, that I mentioned about professional calm. I wished I had more of that calmness at that time than I do now. Because there is I'm going to use a word, they say shit happens. Right?
Yeah.
The market is going down and you have spent a lot of money, a lot of effort to doing some product, and you say that market went down completely. And how well you react to that depends on what your mental state is. And I think that's kind of thing I mentioned in my other sessions about when I talk about positive state of mind and all that, that I say that event happens, Event plus response equals to outcome. E plus R equals O. Events happen. Outcome is dependent on your response, and your response is dependent upon your mental state. So more calmness you have, professional calmness you have, better you can respond to those events. I wish I had more of that during some of the earlier ventures. I could have handled things in a much better way.
I think we are really lucky. I mean, the one formula that we all remember is E is equal to MC square, and the one formula that you've given us.
I think my director also.
I think this is really interesting. So we have one very interesting question. There's somebody, Mr. My Shopwala. He's asking, sir, how do we choose team members for a new startup?
See, the best is generally the people that you're studying with. I mean, a lot of you are college students, I'm guessing. So if you have other team members, because you have experience in knowing them, right? And that is a benefit that you might have. If you've known them, you know their skills are complementary, you know you guys could be compatible. Other is that, you choose some, and meaning one with complementary skill set. That's the number one requirement, right? And then you start working together on the idea. Then you will figure out, maybe he's very short-tempered, maybe you are very short-tempered, maybe you guys are not gelling together. Then change it, change it to fail fast. That's in startup one, philosophy we say is fail fast. If it is not working out, get out of it quickly. Don't do the same thing in your marriage. We say, in marriage, you say we adjust. Here we say, don't try to adjust too much. Fail fast, move forward, because there is a better person waiting for you. Opposite of that, right?
Yeah.
Right? But yes. Unfortunately, these days people are using that philosophy in marriages, but that's not right. Man, don't do that in marriage is for life. Startups are not for lifetime. Startup fail fast so that you find a better person, right?
Yeah.
Better co-founder. And there are some forums. I mean, many times it happens to me. One guy comes to me with an idea, and I feel that he needs a good sales and marketing person with good sales and marketing skills. So I connect them with somebody else like that, and if you talk to enough people who have been doing these companies, I mean, they are part of the ecosystem. They would know people with complementary skills, right?
Yeah. That's actually well said, because I think you actually balanced the entire personal and the professional thing, with the same formula, but it should not be on a crossroad. I mean, it should not be merged here and there. That's a good one. So that's a good one. So I think we have some panelists, who would want to ask you some questions. So I think we have Dr. Ganeshan who's wanting to ask a question. Dr. Ganeshan. Yeah, Dr. Ganeshan, I think he had some queries. So we have a lot of people on the panelists also. Miss Mahalakshmi, Miss Priyanka.
I'm happy about this particular thing. I just want our director to say a few words. So he can say a few words on about this program.
Sure.
He has not muted. He has unmuted. He has to unmute his thing.
Oh, okay. Who is that person?
Director K. Elect 1. He has to unmute, but he is not able to do that, I think. Anyway, sir, it's all right. We'll proceed with the program. We will keep the schedule.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, sure. Sure, sir. Not a problem. Yeah. So there's another one very interesting question based on what you just concluded by Miss Nishta Shelley. She's asking, how important is industry experience before starting a startup company?
That will really be helpful if you have industry experience, because then you can actually understand, you can answer the last question that I mentioned, why you? If you have the industry experience, why you question can be perfectly answered.
Yes.
Suppose you are in software development, in Python programming as an example, and you have done some very hyperscale system, and your solution to the problem that you are coming out with is this. So you can say, why you? Because I have so much experience. Or you work with somebody who has that experience, right? And there's one company here in the US, and the recent startups, a company which does, let's say online glasses, these, these spectacles, right? And they came up with an idea while these guys were students. One guy was a good techie, other guy knew this market. And they came up with a really good site where you can put your picture and you can select a spectacle. It'll show you how you look before you order. You don't have to go to a shop. Now imagine in these times, we are all scared to go to a shop, right? What if we touch some perfect business model, right?
Yeah.
It's a perfect business model, right? I mean, you can just go there, put your picture, it'll just show you. Now to develop those kind of things, I mean, and they are very successful. Warby Parker is the name of the company. They get most of the spectacles made in India or China, actually. And in US, these things used to be very expensive, and they just got it done. And one guy knew really about supply chain, one of the founders. Other founder knew technology. They got together, and while they were students, and did this. There's another company called Harry's, which makes shaving blades. Similar. It's online model. And so there are many such business models that you can look at these days, which would be perfect for today's time, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we have two similar questions. So we were actually just trying to club the questions. It's by Mr. Prashant Parekh and Mr. Srijit J. They have a very interesting question. It's mixing spirituality with the business. So they ask, if we get involved in spirituality, do we get some help in business? Is it possible that we don't concentrate on business and spend more time in spirituality, then also the business grows? And how has meditation helped you?
See, I mentioned earlier how meditation helped me is to have that professional calm so that I can make the right decisions, Again, going back to that formula of E plus R equals O, that response to situation depends on your mental state, and that, of course, through meditation, your mental state can be better. Now, the first question, yes, I do see, I think many of you know, I'm very actively involved with heartfulness meditation. And I do see that problem in many youngsters that they get so involved and they forget their jobs, and many times their families write to our guide that, they are not taking care of their studies because I think that happens. I mean, it happened to me too, I must admit. In the beginning, when you start meditation, it's like a pendulum, you go too much in that direction. You start liking this so much that you just want to do this all the time. You want to do everything around it and all. I think you need to bring that balance, pendulum back, so that you can, smaller the swing, better it is for you, more balanced you will be. In fact, in Heartfulness, we always talk about balancing your material and spiritual lives. That's one of the key principles. And if you see all of the guides of Heartfulness, our previous one, who was from Chennai, Shripad Sarthi Rajgopalachari, who had started our ashram in Manapakam, he was an executive director of TTK Group of Industries, one of the most successful executives people had known. Current one, he had very successful pharmacy business in US. So if the guides can show us the example, we can follow. So I'm just giving the example from Heartfulness. I am not from other, spiritual techniques, but these are the examples I know very well. And it is possible for you to balance your spiritual and material lives, and you must make every effort. And don't let one overtake the other. Balance it. It may happen for a short while you're here, bring it back sooner. And you may go a little bit here, it's okay. Come, swing, balance.
That's, I think it's a key takeaway when you spoke about balance, and especially when you gave an example of the pendulum. I think that's one thing I think we all would need in our lives right now, is a proper balance. There's another question, sir. What would by Renee, she's asking, what would you say is more important for a startup to work: finance, team, or a business model?
All three. But no, to start, I think, see, I said earlier, business model can be tweaked, finance can come, team is the most important, to start with. Problem, solution, why now, why you. Why you means the team here, right? Very important, all four of them. That will help you get the financing. Business model you can tweak as you go along. Many of you perhaps have heard of Google. I'm sure everybody uses Google. Google was not just going to be a company like what it is today. They didn't have any business model. In fact, initially investors invested just thinking it's a good technology. So I'm sure they'll figure out the business model. Many companies started out like that. They thought about business model later on.
Yeah, I agree with you on that part, definitely. And I think more or less it's been I think this is a perception or idea that most of us have, but I think with your inputs, I think all of the queries are being answered, and I think definitely I feel the next batch that's gonna be churned out, it will definitely have some focus. And nonetheless, sir, I think we have a lot of questions, and I think due to constraint of time, we might have to avoid a few of them. Also, apologies to the audiences for not being able to ask all the questions. But just one last question, sir, if that's okay. There's a question by Mr. Vignesh KS. He says, sir, I have a good plan. When should I start raising funding?
As I told you, answer those 4 questions. If you think you have answered those 4 questions, you can contact, an angel investor. Though I must say this is not a very good time because everybody is busy taking care of their existing companies, all investors. But I'm sure if the plan is good, stay at. Fundraising is just another project, by the way, a very big project in the life of an entrepreneur. And you can set out to do that, or you can just start, solving that. If you already have these days, people are also likely to fund those companies which already have a proof of concept, and so you should develop proof of concept. But you can contact me, I'll guide you further.
Thank you, sir, for the inputs. I think a lot of people would be in touch with you now, seeking help. Not only for business, but also for meditation and for balance. I think it was very interesting session, and sure, I mean, panelists would definitely have to say something. I think Miss Mahalakshmi would be the one. I think she wanted to ask something, and she wanted to even talk to you. Over to you, Miss Mahalakshmi.
Yeah, Sanjay, sir, thank you for your valuable time. I would like to ask, as you said, the students, community who want to become an entrepreneur. So, what would be your one mantra? Say, like they also have their friends, but choosing the friends, as you said, they should be compatible and they should be like what the marketing skills and all those things. In one shot or in one line, maybe for the students, what would be your motivation?
Don't be afraid of failures. You won't be the first one who has failed in his first startup. Most of the successful guys that you see today, you hear about today, they had many failures behind them. One of the sayings I like the most, it's from Winston Churchill. He said, the real success is moving from failure to failure with equal enthusiasm. So don't be afraid of failure. March forward. You will make mistakes, but you will adjust. As long as you keep adjusting along the way, you will finally achieve success.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks all of you for having me. Thanks Ganeshan sir and Mahalakshmi and everybody else. Very wonderful, and all the audience. I'm sure we will meet again.
Thank you,
It's amazing.
sir, for your
Thanks as we do.
time. And I hope I would like to thank you from on behalf of Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute and from the Department of Placement and Training. So as with the tagline goes, be a job creator. That is what our college motto is. So
Wonderful.
definitely our students will be really benefited out of it. And you said like inspire others, what inspires you? That thing that also will be definitely reach the students. And as you also mentioned about, do not fear about the what you call failures, because that is what the students hesitate in the starting stage. Because even if it is from the social community or family and everyone, they have their own barriers like first go with a job, settle down, maybe after that you can try. But your words, your inspiring words would have definitely given the what you call seed sowed in their minds. That is, leaving out all those things, they can march towards what is their passion they really want to become. And also, as you said, that making the fundraising is also a big project. Maybe this quarantine may give them an idea. They have their time, real time, which they require. That is planning their project, how they want to take it step by step process, and gather their friends who has a real the same attitude. Might this time give them an opportunity to open a new venue for them. On that note, I really want to say thank you, and for your heartfulness meditation also, which is also required. Not as in like it was like a, as we all say, after 50 years finishing all the works we go and become a saint. It's not like that. In a practical world now, it is required for the students also, because of the so much of pressure coming here and there and all those. They need to balance, whether it is from the studies or from their personal life. Coming down to the work professionals, the same way, balance between the life and with their professional way. So this heartfulness and meditation, making them mind calm, so that they can have a vision. Even when we are stressed, we'll not be able to find out any solution. So that calmness, I think, as you mentioned, this meditation will take them also, and as an option for them, they also will be thinking what is there, they can come out of this stress, as we all facing it now. This meditation will also definitely help them, I think so, sir. Thank you for a wonderful session, sir. Thank you, sir. Ganesan, sir, you would like to
Yes.
say something?
No, I just want our younger person, Priyanka, to say something. And I have already told you that.
Yes,
Yeah,
a very
Priyanka.
good evening to all. So it was very glad hearing the speech of the successful personality, Mr. Sanjay sir. Thank you very much. And I hope all the students today will be thinking 4 points, as you've said. What problem and how you're going to solve it, and why now, why you. That is the core mantra, where everyone cannot do it, as you said. And if you know the answer, sure you can do it. Thank you for that mantra, sir. Thank you very much.
Our director is there, or
He's there,
director?
sir. He's there.
Huh? Is there?
Yeah, sir, he's there. Eloquent, sir. Kindly unmute, sir.
Maybe he may not be able to hear what we say.
Eloquent, sir.
There.
I think he's coming. Yeah.
Okay.
Ganesan sir,
Yes.
can I say sir?
Yes, I am able to hear you, but
Okay, wonderful. Good evening to all. On behalf of Dr. MGR Educational Research Institute University, we are welcoming Mr. Sanjay. You have given a wonderful actually entrepreneurship leads and other things. And also specifically, I want to mention one thing. You told the technical people may not be in the marketing side. The marketing people may not be in the technical side. And also you have mentioned being an entrepreneur when you are going to be start, failure is actually not going to be accounted. Try for more. Raising the funds is actually no problem as long as actually entrepreneurs is concerned. And also actually this efforts, actually very big efforts are made by our deputy director, Dr. Ganeshan. along with our team, Radha Ramakrishnan, Mrs. Mahalakshmi, and Priyanka and Kavita. In addition to that, the opportunity was given by our management, our founder chancellor, Dr. A.C. Shanmugam sir, and also our president, engineer, Arun Kumar sir, and also our vice chancellor, Ida Lakshmi madam, and also actually is given very big opportunity our prophets, Gopalakrishnan sir, and our registrar C.P. Palnivel. This type of entrepreneurship always actually you have conducted some other way, the director of placement and training. All the efforts for 24 hours, our deputy director, Mr. Ganeshan, used to put all the ways. But definitely, Mr. Sanjay sir, thank you very much. We have actually attended so many entrepreneurship, and also we have attended so many programs. But the way which you have presented, it is very helpful to our student. The reason being, our college university motto is we are job creator, not job seeker. This is our motto. Whereas you have given actually, so starting from now, how you are, where you are, how you have started, how you are success, how the team you have managed, how the entrepreneur should success. Really, I am telling you the wonderful things. But how actually Dr. Ganeshan actually find out actually Dr. Sanjay Sehgal, I don't know. But you have done a wonderful thing, sir. Our team is appreciating, our management will be appreciating. Thank you very much, sir. You help our students whenever actually our students are asking anything, please help. Our students are actually really hard-working people. Our syllabus and other things is a wonderful syllabus. We are actually NAC accreditation, UGC accreditation, and also our institute is actually doing wonderful. Thank you very much, sir. Once again, I will thank you to all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. Okay. Bye.